Right, good afternoon. As has been said, my name's Phil Harley, and I'm the Senior Engineer of the Stations Equipment Team for OpsLU Engineering for London Underground. Before I start, I would like to apologise for any use of MLAs or multiple letter acronyms. The company's overrun with them, and if you don't understand the random collection of letters, please stop me afterwards and I'll inform you of what we actually mean. This is going to be very much a big hand, small map briefing. We've got an awful lot to fit in, so if you have any questions on the finer points that aren't covered in the questions after all at the end, please feel free to come and speak to me and I will bore you to death about whatever you want to talk about. So, the aim of the Escalator Passenger Safety Strategy, or EPSS, was to improve passenger safety on escalators. There's no way identified to make escalators significantly more safe mechanically than they already are. 40% of all London Underground injuries occur on escalators, 80% of which occur on the in upward travel. The vast majority of these are slips, trips and falls, with some entrapment injuries as well, which tend to be more serious. The vast majority of accidents on escalators in London Underground are due to passenger behaviour. Contributing factors tend to be, as was discussed earlier, luggage, passengers running, passengers being elderly or infirm, and the intake of alcohol. From this information, we decided that we must try to alter passenger behaviour. The EPSS committee was then formed with the following core tasks. Firstly, identification of key safety messages, then looking at potential initiatives for the trial and selecting them, planning, implementing and managing that trial, establishing the success criteria and the measurements of effectiveness, collation and interpretation of the results, and then production of a report with recommendations to the Customer Safety Steering Group, which was the parent group for our strategy. Following all that, we then have the management of deployment. So, the key safety messages. 4 main messages were identified. Firstly, hold the handrail. This is really the most important one. The majority of trip, slip and fall accidents can be avoided purely by giving a third point of contact for the passenger. Secondly, stand or walk safely. This refers to the passenger's position on the step, moving up the escalator at a safe speed, and avoiding entrapments with either the side or the edge of the step. Being aware of the step landing interface. The serious injuries, as I mentioned earlier, entrapments, and also preventing passengers from stopping on the landing to pick up their bags or make a cup of tea, as has happened at one station. So, getting the message across. 2 real methods of doing this, overt messages and subliminal. Overt messages, exactly as it says on the tin, direct verbal or written instructions giving a clear indication of what we want the passenger to do. The example here is the Virtual Assistant Projector, or VAP. See, those acronyms are coming out. With a large raft of messages, in this case saying stand on the right. Subliminal messages, visual cues designed to encourage desired behaviours without actually instructing the passenger. So a nudge towards a desired behaviour. And here we have the PPGs, or the Passenger Positional Guides, which are blue footprints. I came up with that one myself, I was very proud. Which are blue footprints that are bi-directional and encourage passengers to stand in the correct position on the escalator. So, interventions, wrong, my apologies. So, what to avoid in getting the message across? Firstly, illegibility and poor location of messages. Here we have a message in a London shopping centre. I can't say where it is, but it's not in the east and it's in a field. And this is an A3 notice, Fablond, and stuck on the inside of the escalator balustrade. It contains 6 pictograms, 54 words of instruction, and there are another 4 pictograms on the lower balustrade. The likelihood of passengers taking note, well, it's down here as minimal. That's only because that was the politest way of putting it. And looking across at the next one, this is at Heathrow 123 on escalators 3 and 4. Historically, this has been a site where we have trialled different safety messages. And it's resulted in 27 separate written safety messages and 4 subliminal messages. And that's given a visual overload. And, basically the passengers get on there and they run up the escalator, they slide up it, windsurf it, God knows what else. There's just too much information there, so the whole thing's ignored. Interventions must be legible and relevant, but not crowded onto our assets. So, the initiatives selected for trial. As you can see from the list here, there's a wide range of interventions, some new, others which are industry standard. The mixture of both subliminal and direct messages there, and I'll describe in detail later in this presentation the more successful ones. Wherever possible over the trial, only one initiative was installed on each escalator. 50 installations were put in on escalators selected from the top 20 stations for occurrence of accidents. Excuse me, getting very dry up here. So the trial implementation, the first thing that we needed to get was stakeholder engagement at all levels. That's from director all the way down to station staff on the platforms and in the ticket halls. We managed this and encouraged this with information campaigns within the company, and the trials were installed on 13 of the top 20 stations by the 1st of September 2015. A 6-month duration of the trial completed in March of this year. Over that period, we were responsible for periodic condition monitoring, not only of the installations, but also of the assets, carrying out maintenance on those installations as necessary, and also collection of data. So the success criteria. For each of the initiatives to be successful, we decided that we had to provide greater than 10% accident reduction or an indicative behaviour change of a similar percentage. Without hard data and concise interpretation, basically all we'd done was install a bunch of pretty toys on our escalators. Therefore, we needed robust methods of measuring changes in behaviour, and we set up 4 methods of measurement. Firstly, direct statistical comparison of sites. 6 months of recorded accident data prior to installation was compared with the same data collected over the 6 months following installation. However, there were a limited quantity of sites, so the data was not fully robust. However, it was still indicative. Secondly, a survey of customer behaviour was carried out. This involved using CCTV or temporary camera installations to collect footage of 1,000 journeys in 3 tranches. These were taken before installation, directly after installation, and at the 3-month point of the trial to see if there was any drop-off in behaviour change. Thirdly, there was a survey of station staff. This was carried out with a simple questionnaire, and when the station staff refused to answer that, we actually went out and spoke to them, involving a large portion of the London Underground HSE directorate. And finally, a technical performance evaluation. And this was to determine the robustness, maintainability, and any effect that was carried out, that was given to the asset by the installation. Combined, these measures gave a result for each initiative detailing their effect on the behaviour of the passengers and their robustness in service. So, following completion of the 6-month trial, the results were collected and reviewed. The validation of methodology was carried out by a separate part of London Underground, the LU Customer Insight Team, and they gave us a clean bill of health on that. And the report was produced on the 1st of April 2016, which is available open source. Included in the report was the table that you can see in front of you. If you look at the right-hand column of this table, you can see that 7 of the 12 initiatives were successful, with positive results on at least 3 of the 4 measurements of effectiveness. So we'll go through these in detail now. Firstly, the PPGs, or passenger positional guides. As was said, a blue bidirectional footprint to encourage safe foot placement. This actually gave us a 21% positive change in behaviour. The red Lexan combs, these are red polycarbonate comb sections which highlight the step to landing interface. And that gave us a 15.9% change of behaviour. The video patrices, or e-Toblerones. These are bi-directional Patris TV screens, and they displayed a wide variety of safety messages, giving us 11.2% positive change in behaviour. They were also very popular with the staff and fitted well onto the escalator. One of the regular comments that we got was that it didn't look like it had been bolted on, it looked like it was part of the escalator, which was quite a success for the design idiom side of things. And the hologram, or holo, which was a silhouette projector imparting verbal safety messages. And that gave us a 19.9% positive change of behaviour. As was mentioned, quite a few of these were also used on the Holborn trial. The hologram was a massive success there, and going back to the humour element, we had various different messages on the second tranche of the Holborn trial. We started off with serious messages, then we went for some very unfunny joke messages, and then that was followed up with Zen messages, which I'm still trying to get my head around. Moving further on, step riser messaging, SRMs, which are basically safety messages painted on the non-cleated step risers. Really cheap, really cheerful, only of use in a station where you don't have much footfall, but very effective, giving an 11.4% positive change of behaviour. And the handrails, safety messages embedded in the handrail. Now, we trialled 3 different messages, which were hold the handrail, hold me, and 3 multicoloured hands in succession. Overall, on all of those sites, that gave a 17.4% positive change of behaviour. So that's really rather a lot for something that basically the producers of the handrail did for the same price as the normal yellow button movement indicators that are placed in there. And finally, lift floor vinyls. These are vinyl floor signage to indicate the positions of lifts. As you can see, there are 3 different signs indicating that it's not just for disabled people, which was one of the things that we were trying to encourage more than anything else, especially the luggage. Getting people to use lifts with luggage was something that we did actually manage to do. Now, there was only a 1% recorded change of behaviour because we put this in 2 locations. We put it both on the platform level, and we also put it from the wide access gate to the lift up in the foyer of the station. At the station level, it was spectacularly ineffective because it was just covered by people coming through. At the wide access gate, because people are looking down as they go through the gate, they immediately picked up on that information. If they had baggage, if they had prams, or if they were disabled, they immediately followed the advice and took the signage on the way. Also, station staff found them really useful as points of reference. So, moving on to the unsuccessful initiatives. Just as valuable is knowing what didn't work to prevent future nugatory efforts and installing of things that we now know don't work. So, going around from the top left, understep lighting only gave us 0.08% change in behaviour. Overcomb lighting, once again, 2.1%. Step edge painting, which I think is an industry standard, only a 2% change in behaviour. Escalator floor vinyls, similar to the lift vinyls, but placed in front of escalators, strangely enough, only gave us 7.6%. Directional speakers and PAs, we didn't get a full reading of this due to operational installation issues, so they can't really be counted as fairly negated from the trial. So, implementation. The recommendations of the report were ratified by the Customer Safety Strategy Steering Group. An initial rollout to high-risk sites has now been planned, and stakeholder agreement on the installation of those plans across the top 10 stations. The EPSS committee has also been permanently established to act as a centralised clearinghouse for all future innovations on escalator safety. This is one of the more important areas because hopefully this will prevent silo thinking within our organisation. We're very good at planning 7 different installations all on the same location, all at the same time. Hopefully this will cut that down. So, in conclusion, the EPSS has established for London Underground which interventions significantly affect passenger behaviour and which do not. Over the 13 stations on which the initiatives were installed, the overall accident rate decreased by 3%, which, considering that the installations were only on 15% of those sites' escalators, is a significant drop. In effect, LU now has a catalogue of interventions known to improve passenger safety, which can be selected to match the bespoke requirements of individual station escalators and can provide a reduction in passenger accidents of up to 20%. Thank you for your time and attention.